I never believed in ghosts until one saved my life. But now, 3 months later, I wish I had died that night instead. The price of survival was far too high, and I'm sharing this story as a warning some debts can never truly be repaid. It started on a bitter December evening. I was driving home from a late shift at the hospital, taking the back roads to avoid traffic. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds, and my headlights barely cut through the darkness. My phone was dead, and the radio only picked up static. Looking back, these should have been the first warning signs. That's when I saw a hair-pale figure in a white dress, standing in the middle of the road. I slammed on my brakes, but the ice made my car spin out of control. As I struggled with the steering wheel, time seemed to slow down. The woman's face came into view through my windshield. Her eyes were completely black, and her mouth was opened in a silent scream. Just as my car was about to hit her, she vanished. But then I felt ice-cold hands grip my shoulders, yanking me backward with inhuman strength. In that same instant, a massive tree branch crashed through my windshield, impaling the driver's seat where I had been sitting just seconds before. When I finally caught my breath, I was lying in the snow several feet from my car, completely unharmed. The woman in white stood over me, her feet hovering inches above the ground. "You're safe now," she whispered, her voice like rustling leaves. "But remember, I'll return to collect what's owed." The police report called it a miracle. They couldn't explain how I'd escaped the car without a scratch, or why the driver's side door was still locked from the inside. I told them I must have crawled out the broken windshield. But deep down, I knew the truth. The ghostly woman had saved my life, and now I owed her a debt. The first few days after the accident were deceptively normal. I convinced myself it had all been a trauma-induced hallucination. The woman, the impossible rescue, her chilling warning. But then the strange occurrences began. Every mirror in my house would fog up when I passed, even in the middle of summer. My coffee would turn ice cold the moment I looked away. And sometimes, late at night, I could hear someone humming an unfamiliar lullaby. My friends noticed the change in me. How could they not? I jumped at every shadow, flinched at every sudden movement. Dark circles formed under my eyes as sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, those bottomless black eyes staring into my soul. I tried everything to make it stop. Sage burning, holy water, protective crystals, you name it, I tried it. But nothing could shake the feeling that I was being watched, that something was always just over my shoulder, waiting. The worst part was knowing that this was just the beginning. One night, I found a message written in the steam on my bathroom mirror. "The debt must be paid." That's when I realized she hadn't saved my life out of kindness. She had marked me for something far worse. As weeks passed, the haunting intensified. It wasn't just small things anymore. This was different, more purposeful. Objects would move when I wasn't looking, forming patterns I couldn't understand. My phone would ring with calls from numbers that didn't exist, playing that same haunting lullaby I heard at night. The ghost began appearing more frequently, always in reflective surfaces. I'd catch glimpses of her in windows, computer screens, even puddles on the street. She never spoke, just watched with those terrible black eyes. Sometimes she'd reach out, her pale fingers seeming to press against the glass from the other side. My dreams became nightmares, filled with whispered conversations I couldn't quite hear, and shadows that moved against the laws of physics. I'd wake up with strange marks on my skin, not bruises or cuts, but perfect circles that felt ice-cold to the touch. They'd fade by morning, but new ones would appear the next night. The worst part was the growing sense of purpose behind it all. This wasn't random haunting, she was preparing me for something. Each manifestation felt like a test, each nightmare a lesson in fear. But what was she teaching me? What could she possibly want? I started researching similar cases, spending countless hours in libraries and on obscure websites. I found stories of other people who'd been saved by supernatural entities, only to disappear months later. Their bodies were never found, but their journals spoke of debts and payments and a woman in white. Yesterday marked exactly 2 months since the accident, and things have taken an even darker turn. The ghost no longer hides in reflection, she stands in plain sight, visible even in broad daylight. Other people can't see her, but they feel her presence. Friends refuse to visit my house, claiming it feels wrong. Even my cat won't come near me anymore. The lullaby has become clearer. I can make out words now, though they're in a language I don't recognize. Sometimes I catch myself humming it without realizing, and when I do, the temperature around me drops dramatically. Plants wilt when I walk past them, and electronics malfunction in my presence. Last week, I woke up to find my bedroom walls covered in writing. Thousands of words in that same unknown language, written in what looked like frost. I took photos, but they came out blank, as if the walls were completely bare. When I tried to touch the writing, my fingers came away numb. The ghost seems more solid now, more present. She follows me everywhere, always staying just a few steps behind. When I turn to look at her, she smiles, not the warm smile of a savior, but the hungry grin of a predator that knows its prey can't escape. I've started losing time. I'll blink and find myself in different places, with no memory of how I got there. My journal entries show gaps, days missing with no explanation. And the few entries I do find from those missing days are written in that same strange language. Today, I finally understood what she wants. The realization came while I was looking through old photographs, trying to document my life before it's too late. In every photo taken since the accident, I look different, not in any way I can explain, but wrong somehow. My features are slightly distorted, my smile too wide, my eyes a shade darker. She's not just haunting me, she's replacing me, piece by piece. Each night she takes a little more, replacing it with something else, something cold and ancient. The debt she spoke of isn't something I can pay, it's something I'm becoming. I found an old book in the library's restricted section that confirmed my fears. It spoke of entities called the Exchanged, spirits who save humans from death only to slowly possess them, transforming them into beings like themselves. The process takes exactly 3 months. The book described everything I've experienced. The marks, the lost time, the changes in photographs. It even mentioned the lullaby, a song that prepares the human body for transformation. Each verse alters something fundamental about the victim's nature, making them less human and more something else. Now I understand why she saved me that night. She wasn't being kind, she was choosing her replacement. After all, even ghosts need to rest sometimes, and what better way to ensure their continuation than to transform the living? The changes are happening faster now. This morning, I caught my reflection in a window and didn't recognize myself. My skin has become almost translucent, and my eyes, God, my eyes are starting to look like hers. Deep, dark pools that seem to go on forever. When I cry, my tears leave frost patterns on my cheeks. I can move things without touching them now. At first, it was just small objects, a pencil rolling across my desk, a door closing on its own. But yesterday, in a moment of frustration, I shattered every window in my house without lifting a finger. The power should terrify me, but instead, it feels natural, like remembering how to ride a bike. The lullaby makes perfect sense now. I can sing it myself, and when I do, others can hear it too. I tested it at the grocery store yesterday, just hummed a few bars. Everyone within earshot stopped moving, their eyes glazing over. When I stopped, they continued as if nothing had happened, but their breath came out as fog for hours afterward. My memories are changing too. I remember things that never happened to me, centuries of watching, waiting, saving others only to take their place. Sometimes I'm not sure which memories are mine and which belong to her. Or maybe they're all mine now, just from different lives, different transformations. The hunger is the worst part. Not for food I haven't eaten in days, but for something else. Something vital. When people get too close, I can see their life force pulsing beneath their skin, and my whole being aches to reach out and take it. With less than 2 weeks left before the 3 months are up, I'm frantically searching for a way out. I've contacted paranormal investigators, mediums, even a few questionable individuals who claim they can break supernatural contracts. Most of them ran away when they saw what I've become. The few who tried to help ended up with severe frostbite just from being near me. I found others like me, online people in various stages of transformation. We've formed a sort of support group. Though members keep disappearing as their 3 months expire, their last messages are always the same. Acceptance, even excitement about what they're becoming. That scares me more than anything else. The ghost barely appears anymore because she doesn't need to. I'm becoming her. Or maybe she's becoming me. The lines between us blur more each day. Sometimes I find myself standing in the middle of roads late at night, waiting for cars to pass. I have to fight the urge to step out in front of them, to save someone else and start the cycle again. My research has led me to believe there might be a way to break the transformation, but it requires finding and destroying the original ghost's anchor, the thing that first bound her to this world. The problem is, I'm starting to think I don't want to break it anymore. Part of me, a growing part, wants to complete the transformation. Every time I think about stopping the process, I feel her influence more strongly. It's like a voice in my head, but instead of words, it speaks in memories of power and freedom and endless existence. 3 days left, and I've made my choice. I won't try to stop the transformation anymore. Not because I've given up, but because I've realized something terrible. I'm not the victim here. I'm the continuation of something ancient and necessary. We're not parasites or monsters. We're guardians of a balance older than humanity itself. You see, every person we save was meant to die at that moment. By saving them, we create a debt to death itself. The only way to balance that debt is to transform the saved person into one of us, allowing us to save others and continue the cycle. It's a cruel system, perhaps, but a necessary one. I understand now why she chose me that night. She saw something in me, a willingness to sacrifice everything for others, even if the price was my own humanity. That's what all of us had in common, every person who was saved and transformed. We were chosen because we would understand the importance of the role. The hunger I feel isn't for life force, it's for the chance to save others, to give them the same choice I was given. Yes, it's a terrible choice, but it's still a choice. Death or transformation, an end or a new beginning. Tomorrow, I'll start walking the roads at night, looking for accidents waiting to happen. I'll save someone, and then I'll watch as they go through the same transformation I did. And maybe, just maybe, they'll understand too. It's my last night as a human, and I'm writing this from my old bedroom, though it hardly feels like mine anymore. The walls are covered in a thick layer of frost, and my breath hasn't fogged in the cold air for days now. I can see through my hands when I hold them up to the light. The original ghost stands beside me as I write, but she's not scary anymore. She's more like a reflection now, or maybe I'm her reflection. We move in perfect synchronization, our forms blending and separating like smoke in the wind. Soon, there won't be any difference between us at all. I've learned that we're part of something larger than myself, larger than any individual ghost. We're a network spanning centuries, all connected by the same purpose, maintaining the balance between life and death. Each of us was saved, transformed, and then saved others in turn. An endless chain of debt and payment, mercy and sacrifice. The transformation will be complete at exactly 3:33 a.m., the time I was saved 3 months ago. I can feel it coming, like a wave building in the distance. My humanity is slipping away with each passing second, replaced by something older and colder and infinitely more powerful. I'm not afraid anymore. How could I be? Fear is for the living, and I'm already something else. Something necessary. Something eternal. If you're reading this, it means my transformation is complete. The person who started this story no longer exists, or perhaps she exists everywhere. In every reflection, in every shadow, in every moment between life and death, I've become what I was meant to be. a guardian of the balance, a keeper of the debt, to those I'll save in the future. I'm sorry, and you're welcome. The choice I'll give you is the same one I was given, a terrible gift, a cursed blessing. Some of you will fight it, as I did at first. Others will embrace it immediately. In the end, we'll all understand its necessity. To those who fear the dark, who jump at shadows and avoid mirrors at night, you're right to be afraid. We're watching, waiting, ready to save you if fate demands it. But remember, our help comes with a price, and once the debt is marked, it must be paid. I'm going to end this story now, though my existence is far from over. Tonight, I'll walk the dark roads, looking for souls balanced on the edge of death. I'll save them, mark them, and guide them through their own transformations. The cycle will continue, as it has for centuries, as it must for centuries to come. If you see a woman in white standing in the middle of the road, if you feel cold hands pull you from danger, if you hear a lullaby in a language you don't understand, remember my story. Remember that you're not being saved. You're being chosen.